there was a military band that wanted to play his Allegro Barbaro, so they wanted to transcribe it from the piano for military band, and Bartok gave his permission, of course, and he then attended the concert. And he was really shocked because what happened was, you know, the tempo marking says a half note equals. Well, you know what happened with the transcription? They wrote a quarter note equals. So there's Bartok sitting, and he's hearing the piece twice as slowly as he wrote it. So he said, boy, that's an Adagio Barbaro instead of an Allegro Barbaro. So he never got over that. And from that day forward, Bartok decided to put the duration of the composition at the end. Some of you have studied Microcosmos, and you see that he puts the timing at the end of the piece. That's to ensure you don't make a mistake like the military band made about the tempo. Also, let me give you another piece of trivia. Remember I told you this theme? Well, I think it was a Hungarian musicologist who mentioned in a book that I read that Bartók was performing Scarbo, which is the last piece of Ravel's Gaspard de la Nuit. And the theme is, and they said, well, maybe Bartók was inspired by Ravel's composition to get the theme of Allegro Barbaro. So you might think so or not, but I thought it was a nice piece of trivia to give you. So let's just tackle the Allegro Barbaro. It's in what I call a three-part form. But what Bartók does, and he's such a genius at his craft, he kind of expands the boundaries, and he makes it more than just separate three parts, as you will see. So let's really just walk our way through it and see if we can learn something from what he's indicated. Now, another characteristic of Bartók, he was so meticulous with all of his markings. Just look at the first few measures. He gives you accent markings, and he gives you tenuto markings, those line, which means to hold the notes a little more. So every time he indicates something, he is serious. I mean, he really gives you these precise directions of what to do. So in the beginning, he puts sforzando. So we have this big chord. And what I do is I pedal that chord because it gives me much more sound than just playing it like that. It's much better. And then he gives us a vamp, which is, he repeats this. Before the theme starts. So that's what we call our introduction. And what I do is I put a little pedal on every beat. So okay, so there's our theme, and I think the pedal on the beat will really prepare the pulse because we want to have this wonderful motoric energy. And then do you see what he indicates? He puts an accent and he puts a tenuto, both of them. So he really wants this emphasized, and he gives you fortissimo. But then when he gets to the next note, he only gives you a bigger accent. So he really wants you to bring out that note. But he doesn't give you an accent on the next one. So that's the important one. So you've got to make a difference in all these accents. So let me just show you. And he does the same thing in the sequence, which means he's really serious about this. So you want to bring it. And then he goes on. Okay, and these might be difficult in tempos. You've got to play them slower, but I would recommend don't play them with tension. Don't let your hand tense up. In other words, it's a throwing motion. And then, of course, that melody he wants. Okay. And then he'll do it again. Okay, now what I find helpful in those, they're not easy. I put a little accent on the beginning of every measure. Actually, I'm looking at the score, and of course Bartok indicates that, but I would have done it anyway because it would keep the pulse. we come to what I call the closing section. In other words, he's closing out this part, and he gives you this. Okay, now, look at the left hand. What he does is he puts that accent first on the third beat. We're counting 4 beats to a measure. Each eighth note is getting a beat. And then the next time he puts it on the 4th beat. So we want to hear the difference. Okay, and then he'll give it to you an octave higher. Now, let me show you what I do, because I'm shifting octaves, and of course we're in this tempo, and I do move. Now, some of you have been told by your teacher, never move, sit in one place, but you're going to find in this music he's taking you all over the keyboard. You're going to have to move. Now, I usually put my left foot in place so I have balance. Sometimes if you're moving and you're not balanced, you could fall off the piano bench. You could move too far. We don't want that to happen. So make sure your left foot is there for balance. Okay, so that's the idea. And really, you're taking a chance because you don't have time to place the chords. You're coming down for the sound. So you're making that risk to hit the right note there. So, but make sure that's in place. Okay, so we're at the end of this section. And then what Bartok does is to give us what I call a vamp, like. And what the purpose of that is a transition to get us to the next section. And he's giving us 8 measures to get from forte to piano. So I still put the pedal on each one because I want to hear that beat. So let's see. Okay, now, in a piece like this where it's so percussive, there is one ingredient that is so necessary. We need contrast. We need to take advantage of contrast anytime we can. So this is really, even though it's fortissimo, this is a contrasting section, and I hear it played by brass. So we want the piano to imitate bum, ba, ba, bum, ba, 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 bum, bum. And here again, you know, okay, I hate to call myself a woman pianist, but I'm a pianist who's a woman. So I don't lift weights, and I'm not like 250 pounds. And people sometimes think you don't have enough strength if you're not like a big muscle builder. And what I do, and you're going to see me do this, I take advantage of gravity to help me get this big sound. So instead of coming from close, I go, it's a much bigger sound. Gravity, drop my hand. But of course, that goes with taking chances. So you're not as safe as you would be if you were right there, but you don't have time to play so close to the keyboard, or that's the way it works for me. So this is the way it should sound. So by coming down, you get this, and he wants this sforzando. And then I leave the pedal on that. He puts this vamp in between, and of course we heard that vamp from the beginning introduction, and he's using it as a bridge between these brass statements. And Bartok always kind of, it never sounds the same. So the first time he'll give us 5 measures vamp, then he'll give us 5 measures vamp, then he'll change to 3 measures vamp. So we have to clock that in our brain. So let me start this section again. Okay, and also, as I'm looking at the music, I'm seeing these slurs. So the first 2 should be joins. And I join it by using a fingering, 5-4, and then I throw the rest, because that's what he's indicating. So this way, this slur, and it's indicated in the music. 3. Okay, so he gave us a 3, and we have to remember the 3. And now he's ending the section. and he's giving us a 13 measure vamp. Now, when you listen to Bartok's recording, he doesn't really pay attention to the numbers, but since we're following his score, we need to pay attention to the numbers. And I find it too hard to count to 13, so what I do, I know how to count to 13, but when I'm playing it, it just seems difficult. So I see it divided into 4 plus 9, because the first 4 measures, he's holding that chord. 4, 1, 2, 3. And then he will give us 9 measures to get from fortissimo. Well, actually, we're already starting the diminuendo, so we're probably around forte, to 4 Ps. Wow, he gets down to 4 Ps. So it should sound something like this. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then he will start another section, and he'll bring back that theme, except now it's very kind of improvised. This is what I mean about how he stretches the tempo. And he even indicates it. He says, poco sostenuto when it starts. And then he gives you an a tempo. So it's like an extended pickup.